The following segment is sponsored by Daniel A. White and Associates.
The Rick Jensen Show on 101.7 FM, 1150 AM, WDEL, and streaming to your smart speaker and mobile device.
Every Wednesday after the news at 1:30, you get some great advice from one of the extraordinary financial planners at Dan White and Associates, all financial planners specializing in retirement income. On the phone, Andrew Wood. Well, I heard so anyway. Andrew Wood.
Eric, how are you?
Good. How's it going, buddy?
Doing great. It's beautiful outside.
I'm looking at you. It's rainy and drizzly and cold and cloudy. You're that guy. Now, if it was 4 o'clock in the morning and I was in a duck blind, I would be agreeing with you.
I was awake at 4 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, but what,
not that time of year.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon and it's dark, and it's like the first time it's ever happened in your life. No, seriously, for me and everybody's like, "Oh, I've never seen this before." Yeah, you see it every year, and it's kind of miserable. But you know, we're here for you at WDEL to give you a little information, maybe a little chuckle, and now you're here with some really good, meaningful information. So thank you.
Well, thanks for having us. And, I'll tell you a little story. A couple weeks ago, a reporter with USA Today had called in, and we had a conversation, and she had wanted to just kind of go through my opinion on something that we call dependent care benefits that could potentially benefit your kids. If you're an older parent and you collect Social Security, they may have the ability to actually, get some benefits for those children if you do claim those benefits. And everyone that she was talking to was kind of saying, "Oh, this is a tremendous opportunity. You can collect Social Security, and if your kids qualify, meaning they're under, I believe it's 17 or under 18 or 19, if they're still in full-time school, that they might still be able to get benefits for them, and it's a great opportunity if you want to put that money away and save it, towards college or whatever the case is." And everyone was saying how it's such a great opportunity. And I said, it could be, but there are some things you need to be aware of, before it doesn't make sense for you. So there's a potential, if you're at least age 62, that you may be able to claim Social Security, and the dependent child could benefit. All right, and that dependent child could get up to half of your full retirement age benefit.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, in this example, it says, somebody's 62. That 62-year-old person has a child who's still in school. Maybe they're, 15, 16, 17 years old. They're 62 years old. So this is an older parent, obviously, but, that person says, "You know what? I want to claim my Social Security, even though I get a reduced amount, so I can get extra money while my kids are still in school, and maybe, put that money to the side and invest in their future." Again, could be an opportunity to do that. We've kind of had this conversation before, but, if you're going to do something like that, number one, you have to have discipline. You have to make sure that money is actually getting saved, right? And the other thing is you need to make sure that you have a solid retirement plan that's going to last for as long as you live. And for a lot of people, holding off on Social Security is really going to be beneficial for those people if they're worried about longevity and outliving their income. So, for some of these people, they see it as kind of like a bait, right? And they take that bait, saying, "You know what, I'm going to take my Social Security. Yeah, I'll get a little bit less. I'm going to collect this extra money. Oh, but by the way, that extra money is going to stop when my child is, hits a certain age or they're out of school. You're stuck with a lower check for the rest of your life."
Yeah.
And then, then you're kind of out of luck. So, I was telling the person this because all the other, people that she had interviewed said this is a great opportunity. And I said, yeah, just, you got to be careful because, again, it's a short-term, way to increase your income potentially, but long-term, you got to make sure you're in good shape. So if you're overfunded, you got plenty of money, you don't know, you're not necessarily worried about Social Security, then yeah, it might work for you. But if you don't think you have enough and you're worried about outliving your savings, then yeah, it might not be the best bet for you.
Well, yeah, because you get full retirement age, I guess, what, about 70, 70? I don't know what it depends on when you're born, right? So let's just say it's 70 years old. You get all your full your full
well,
social.
So 70 is your maximum, Rick.
Yeah.
It'll be between 66 in a few months, or 67 for most people will be full retirement age. That's what you can get your full check, but not your maximum check.
Right, but not your maximum. And if you start taking out at, let's say, 62, now you're going to get, on average, what, 70% of what you might get if you waited until you're 70?
Correct. It's between, depending on your full retirement age, between a 25 and a 30% reduction, and that's permanent. That's for life.
Yeah, that's for life. And so there you are at 72 years old, going like, oh, man, I could have gotten 30% more every month if I hadn't done this thing when I was 62.
Correct. So, again, it's not a gotcha, but, there is that incentive, and it's like, dangling a carrot, in front of people saying, hey, if you take your benefit early, you can get these dependent benefits for your child. And, I don't necessarily think that's going to be the best bet for most people. Yeah, you got to sit down and look at everybody's individual situation. What did this USA Today reporter say to you when you went through the downsides? So she was kind of shocked. She was like, because everyone else was kind of, talking about all these great advantages. And I said, yeah, they can be, but, what are we worried about here? What are we talking about for most individuals? They're not necessarily worried about short term, collecting a little bit of extra income. It's long term, 20, 30 years out, so, but yeah, my understanding is I was one of the few people that she talked to in my position. See, you made a new friend by being honest. You say, look, here's a downside, and you made a new friend. And I love that about all you guys, because I know all you guys think pretty much the same way about being very careful and very individualistic when it comes to people's retirement. And by the way, if you just tuned in, it's Andrew Wood. He's with Dan White and Associates. DanWhiteandAssociates.com. It's a long thing to type in there. You can give him a call at 888-690-8820, 888-690-8820, and just chat with him about your situation. Then Sunday morning at 7 o'clock here on 1150 AM and 101.7 FM, and, of course, streaming at WDEL.com, Dan White presents On the Money, 7 o'clock on Sundays. Isn't that right, Andrew? That is correct. 7 o'clock every Sunday. Today, this Sunday's tip.
See, I left you away out there. All you had to just said, that's right, Rick, and then I would have moved on if you didn't already know. But that's okay.
The rules concerning RMDs are requirement distributions.
Oh, wow. That's a big deal because they changed during COVID, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, listen, I always love talking to you because I always learn something, and I appreciate the fact that you don't just say, oh, look, it's rainbows and confetti, and no. Here's the potential downsides. You're a good guy, Andrew, and I always appreciate talking with you.
Thank you, Rick.
Take care, my friend.